What's going on, guys? SeeJay here, and in today's video I wanted to dive into Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth and compare it with Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and their performance from last month using Sensor Towers data. So let's dive into it. Alright guys, so kind of following up to yesterday's video where we discussed a little bit of the lack of communication from CG, this one's kind of tying into sort of a similar vibe. Not ranting, just kind of reviewing like some of the statistics of the game and how it's performing. And how it's performing compared to its own competitor in a way, right? Like its own other game within EA and Capital Games, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. So I pulled together the 4 tabs right now. We got we got Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth for Google, and then we have Apple, and then the same thing for SWGOH for both Google and Apple, right? And this is based off last month's data. So this is December, which is probably a pretty good month. You know, like a lot of people are getting gift cards, a lot of people maybe are getting new phones, or phones for the first time for Christmas, whatever it might be, right? Like December is a spending month, so that is a strong month to see supportive sales probably across any industry, including mobile purchases, right? Like people are getting Google Play gift cards and they're buying stuff for whatever games they enjoy playing on their phones. So in this scenario, we're looking at we're looking at Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth for specifically Android phones, and for the month of December, 10,000 downloads and 300,000 revenue. Now maybe you're saying that's awesome, that's pretty good, right? Like they made a couple $100,000, they made 10,000 downloads. I mean, for perspective, they're actually, like, if you're looking at the graph here for rankings, right, they're still around a top 100 top grossing game in the role-playing category. I mean, that's not amazing, but like, you know, they're not a bottom of the barrel. They're a 443 overall, which is, you know, I mean, not great, but they are, they are doing okay, right? And that's great. So you can see that, you know, they are definitely a top grossing game in general across the role-playing category. And if you're looking at here, you can see, you saw your spike leading up to the Christmas window, and then you saw your hard dip because, you know, whatever, people just aren't probably playing the game or whatever it might be, right? I wish you could see this month by month. I'm not too familiar with this site, so if anybody knows down below and can leave a comment on other ways to kind of view this in a little bit more of like a better kind of holistic view, that'd be awesome to know. Maybe I'll do a little bit more of a deep dive, but this of course is just looking at December through today. So I mean, it's obviously valid data, it's the last 30 days, which is great, but it would be nice to see like how is the game performed from launch till now, right? I'd be curious to see how it's performed, because I want to know, like, what does the trajectory look like? Like, you know, you're going to have that massive spike when the game comes out, and then you're going to have that tail off, and then you're going to have your dedicated players. But like, are we seeing that line consistently go down, or is it kind of holding steady? I don't really anticipate or think we'd probably see net gains, at least from what I've seen so far. I also don't know if these are the type of games where people hop into it and it's just the expectation that a new mobile game is going to be a little bit skeleton, and then as it has years to kind of develop, it becomes better, and then you potentially see more people interested in the game and more marketing behind it and more downloads behind it and more spend because there's more characters to buy, there's more things to buy, whatever, right? But if we're looking at this just for the last month, you got 10,000 downloads and $300,000 for Android, and it's even kind of worse on Apple. You have 6,000 downloads over a course of the 30 days, and you're still netting out 300K, so a bit more spending going on in the Apple world. But I mean, total downloads is 16,000, so you're getting like 500 downloads a day, roughly, right? 500 new players a day it's not much. Not much at all, honestly. If we're looking at, again, top grossing, apparently it's a top 100 game on iPhones for adventure games, which seems like an odd category, and it's 165 in role playing. So again, it's definitely hovering on the lower end, but top 100 at least in one of the categories. So, but you know, if you're looking for a new game to play, unless you're typing in Lord of the Rings, right? Like, because that's what you want to play. You want to find a Lord of the Rings game. I mean, you're scrolling right on your phone until you kind of end up in that. If you're in the RPG category and you want to find a good game to play in that RPG category, I mean, you're scrolling a few good amount of times before you're hitting this game, before the other 50 to 100 games that pop up before Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth. So that's a little bit kind of unfortunate, but you know, it's just the truth to the game in its current state. So then if we look at in comparison, right? So remember 10,000, 300,000 for Android. You ready to see Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes? And I know that game's been out for a long time. There's a lot more to buy. There's a lot more to do, but don't forget it's been out for a long time. So, you know, that means that there's a much larger player base that's already there and less players that maybe need to go ahead and download the game because they already downloaded it, right? So, I mean, I generally wonder if this data is 100% accurate. I feel like that download is kind of insane for Android. 500,000 downloads in a single month. But if it's accurate, I mean, can you imagine 500,000 players being added to the game in Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth? I mean, it'd be game changing, right? Like, that is a ton of new shards, ton of new players, ton of new guilds. That'd be insane. But according to the data, it says 500,000 downloads. I'm a little skeptical because I don't know if 500,000 downloads equates to 4 million in revenue. Like, that feels, you know, if we kind of did the math here and 10x'd it, you know, 100,000 downloads to $3 million. So we're saying that, yeah, I don't know. That feels like a little bit wonky, but assuming the data is accurate, 500,000 downloads in a month is like, that's a lot, right? And they're top 10 in role playing for grossing, for sales, and they're doing great. Like, for a game that's been out for so long, and they're still crushing it. And then if we look at Apple has more revenue and way less downloads. I'm a little skeptical on the download side of things. I'm not going to lie. I feel like this is probably not 500,000. It's probably 50,000. Maybe 100,000. I don't know. This seems kind of wonky. But again, even if you look at the Apple, right? I mean, 100,000 downloads, $6 million. You're netting $10 million compared to $600,000. I mean, they're not even making 10% of what Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is making, which is just, it's sad. You know, it's like not even close. Again, it's top 20 in most of the core categories: iPhone and iPad and role-playing gross. Just doing great. 73rd in overall category ranking, 63rd for Android compared to, you know, 400s. I don't know what Star Wars looked like if we looked back when it launched and how long it took to kind of get to that next echelon of like being a top 50, top 100 mobile game. I mean, the IP is just stronger too, right? Like, Star Wars has a huge fan base. Disney owns it. They're cranking out constant videos and movies and shows and everything else around Star Wars, which just kind of gets somebody in the mood to say, oh man, I really want to play a Star Wars game on my phone. Boom, here it is. Lord of the Rings, there's just not a lot going on in the world of Lord of the Rings. You had Ring of Power come out, was it last year or the year before? And it was okay. I don't think that show is amazing. I think they have a lot of work to do on that show and the character build. So we'll see what happens from the Amazon perspective there. Their next season 2 is not slated until, I think, next year. So just a full 2024 of nothing from the show to kind of spark interest and kind of tie them together, the mobile game. We do have the new movie coming out, but it's not till the end of the year, November, December. So again, just a lack of, you know, movies or shows or anything outside of just straight up marketing to pull people in. Whereas Star Wars, just, you know, they're constantly pumping out stuff because of Disney. So they definitely have the edge there from an IP perspective, but I mean, they're like ahead of them by 15x, which is just crazy for an 8-year-old game. So I guess we'll have to see what happens. as we get more communication on kind of the game plan for the game, right? And if I can do more like deep dives to this, I'd be curious to see if I can find a graph that shows how has the game performed the last 8 months since launch, and then kind of see that from Star Wars too. I just don't know if like the free version allows me to look at this data outside of the 30-day window. So I'll play around with it, and if I have anything, I'll kind of put the update in the comments below to let you guys know. But let me know what you guys think. I mean, what are your thoughts about a game that's producing, according to Sensor Tower's data from last month, they're, you know, we're looking at $600,000 compared to Star Wars' $10 million. I'm not even looking at Marvel Strike Force or some other games, just kind of keeping it in house to, you know, to EA and Capital Games. But hopefully we see some some big improvements. A lot of marketing, advertising might help just kind of have that show up on people's radar. And then just more content like multi-squad PvP would be something, some more exciting like legendaries. I really thought like Thorn and another legendary being added from November into December would like spark kind of a spike up in downloads, but it doesn't really feel like it. I mean, 16,000 downloads across both platforms in all of December. 500 a day. Like it's not much at all. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.